Hi everyone, it's Diane with SewBatik, and today we are doing a pattern review of the Cielo top and dress by Closet Core Patterns. If you've been following me for the past several weeks, you'll know that I did this little personal challenge to pick 4 different top patterns and make each one of the patterns out of a rayon and a linen. And the goal is to really share the drape difference between the two fabrics and any construction differences or things to look out for, and just to kind of share my preference. And so this is the last top out of the 4 patterns, and I really love this pattern. It was fun to make. It was something that it was a little bit more creative than something that I've normally sewn for myself. And so let's talk about it a little bit. The pattern has several options, and I'm going to focus specifically on the view that I made, which is view B. I don't feel comfortable commenting on any other view and how it fits. You can kind of get the gist of it, but I'm only going to talk about view B, which is the top, which is long sleeve. It has a really neat sleeve detail, and it's a kind of a roundish boat neck, if I can put it that way. And it is intended to be a crop top, so a shorter top. And this is the linen version that I made, and this is using the hand-dyed Copen Blue shade. I'm wearing the rayon version, which I made out of the motif called Valhalla, and the color is Clifton Garden. And these actually go very well together. I think I have to make another project that has this as a jacket and this as another top. So I'll see, because they go really well together. But the sizing on this pattern starts with a 0 and it goes to a 20. And what that range is from a measurement perspective is a bust of a 31 to a 46. And the hips are a 33 to a 48. Now, your hip measurement really only comes into play when you're making the longer dress version, or if you want to lengthen the garment and want it just a little bit longer. But otherwise, your hip really doesn't come into play because it is a crop top. And for view B, the ease on this pattern is at the bust, it's about 6.5 inches, and at the hips it's about 2 inches. Again, it just is a pretty straight garment. So let me take you through some of the pattern pieces so that you can kind of see how this is designed, and then I'm going to show you a little bit about how they fit. Okay, the front and back of the garments, like I mentioned, these pattern pieces, this design is so straight. I mean, seriously straight. This is the back piece. And I will share with you that the back piece here has another little piece that's sewn to it. And you can add any kind, you could put a different fabric on here. I've seen that on several of the images on the internet that people have done. So this is the pattern piece that's added to the corner of the back of the garment. And this is placed on the fold. But as you can see, it is super straight. The front view, let me turn this around just a little bit so you can see it. But the dart on this garment, there is a very tiny dart. And this, I have to tell you, this is the smallest dart I've ever made in my life. It is angled from the inside of your sleeve positioning here. And it's because this is a pretty long and deep sleeve opening. And there's little markers here for where you match up the gathering on your sleeve to the top, center fold, And again, just so that you can see it here, I'm going to flip that around to the back. It is super straight. It is straight down. And I think the thing that you have to plan on this one is when you make the dress, there are instructions in the pattern for grading this properly to fit you properly. So if you do need to have a smaller size on the top half and a larger size on the bottom half of a dress, it'll share with you how to grade that, and you should just follow your traditional grading that you do on any of your patterns. But the top is intended, as you can see with me sitting here, to be straight, and then there's like, you can do like a slight grade to it down around your hip area, but it is intended to be straight and flat. Okay, the next pattern piece that I want to share with you is the sleeve, which is really, really neat. Well, first the facings. The pattern has an option for how you finish your neckline. So you can use a bias strip. You can buy store-bought bias, fold over, whatever you would like to finish the top. I used, just because I love the finish of a true facing, so I used the pattern pieces for the front and the back facing. I interfaced the facing and with our Envy silk, which I absolutely love. And I think I say that on every one of my garment reviews, but it's the perfect weight. And then top stitched it. Both of these versions are top stitched about an inch around the outside just to keep the facing flat. And it looks really pretty that way. And then the sleeve. Let me grab the pieces for the sleeve. Now, this garment, I'm going to stand up a little bit, has, look at the fullness of the sleeve, okay? And so there's two pieces. There is the top piece, and then there is a bottom piece, which is just a simple funnel, kind of a funnel angle here, that's added to the bottom to give it that kind of flow. And it's really neat, actually. Now, I've seen a lot of versions of this top without the bottom cuff. We can call it a cuff at the bottom of it. And it really gives like a delicate, flowy sleeve to this top. So there's a lot of different ways that you can make this. But the top of the sleeve is, now excuse my little pinned, here, let me clean this up here just a little bit for you. It's very wide. Okay, and so it is wide. Let me put it this way. If you are using 45-inch wide rayon, like I did for this top, it's wider than 22 inches. So if you had it folded in half, you cannot lay two of these on. So you have to separate and cut them out individually for your sleeves. So this is the main top portion of the sleeve. And then the bottom cone, kind of a cuff, is half of an oval here. And you cut 4 of these because it gives it that weight. So you're sewing the tiny little edge together and then adding that to the bottom edge of your sleeve and giving it this really, really neat fullness to it. So at first I was really wondering how this was going to turn out, because I did make the linen version before I made the rayon version. And I will put up pictures of me wearing the linen version of this top. I did a little twirly video too, so I'll put that on there so you can see the difference. But this is a very straight top. I lengthened it, as I often do. I lengthened this 2 inches. So it would hit the top of your jeans if you did not lengthen it. So it is intended to be cropped, and I believe it is, let me find the length. It's like 19 inches. Yes, 18, it's 17 and a half to 19 and a half inches long, depending on where you are in the size range of 0 to 20. I made for myself, with my bust of the 39, that sits between a 12 and a 14. And I didn't want 6.5 inches of ease. I didn't want all that ease. This is enough. And so I ended up making a 10 at the top, which is what I normally do. I have to have a smaller top up here, and then I grade it down here. This top does not require a lot of grading. I ended up just slightly adding a curve to it. So you can see a little bit here, if I can grab this, but not very much at all, okay? And I did the same thing for the linen version here. Now let's talk about the linen version. And hopefully you can see the detail of this garment, even though the hand dyeing of the fabric itself might be a little bold here. But the linen, because of its structure, it is a lighter weave. It's not as tight of a weave as a rayon. And I believe that it just stands out a little bit more because of its structure. So you can see that in this garment. The other difference that there is, and you'll see this here within the gathers on the rayon, I made a little mistake and started the gathers too low here on this top. And so they are spread out more than they should be up on top. But it wears just as nicely. It's just more, it shows more of the emphasis of the sleeve and the gathers because of the difference in the base cloth itself, okay? Now, the back, I don't think there's any way you're gonna be able to see this. I was gonna show you the shoulder, but maybe I have to show this to you in a picture instead, but I'm gonna give it a try. Here's the seam for the back shoulder. It's this piece right here. And I, of course, used the same fabric, but it really would be great to have a coordinate or an accent or a statement piece in these two positions. I've seen that on some of the images that other people have made with their garment. And I've also seen a lot of other hacks where they've taken the front and made it into a jacket, which is a super cute idea. And the one person that wrote about what she had done is she marked the pattern to cut, instead of the fold, to cut down the center, added 1.5 inches to both sides of her two front pieces, and then added buttons. She did interface it and then added buttons to the front of this top. And I think it would be a very cute cropped jacket. And I would leave it that length for a crop jacket, because if you wear that over a summer dress or a skirt or a really neat outfit, it really gives emphasis to the sleeves and not so much to the length. And I just think that would be so much fun. So much fun. So these are my two samples, and I like putting my hands this way because it really shows the amount of sleeve, and it's really comfortable. At first I was thinking it would be just too much material, but because of this, I'll call it a little, it's kind of the shape of a cone. In the cuff itself, it just brings it all down to the side, and the seam hits your elbow. And so it's really, really perfect. Now, a couple of things with regard to the pattern itself. As I mentioned, there's two options for your neckline. So pick that option. Their layouts for how to lay out the pattern pieces on the 45-inch wide fabric and the 57-inch wide fabric for the linen are great. They're wonderful. I always try to challenge everything and see if I can do it a little with less fabric, but this time the fabric yardage is perfect. And so for my rayon top, I started with 3 yards. Actually, I'll take that back. I started with 3 yards and I only used 2.5. And that, of course, was after pre-washing. But I did use every bit of the linen. And the linen, I have to refresh my memory here. I started with 1 yard and 3/4, and that is exactly what I used. So the sleeves definitely make a difference when it comes to using the yardage, and I just didn't give any thought to the fact that there would be so much gathering, which makes your sleeve so much larger, and then 4 of the cuffs to give it the weight that it needs at the end of your sleeve. Let's see, I had made some other notes, but I think the key to this is to, especially when working with the rayon, is to not overstretch or not pull when you're working with all the curves, because on the back, let me find this pattern piece, on the back of the back of the top where you're stitching on this extra piece here, that is all bias, all of it. And so you just have to know that you've cut this out properly and pin each edge and then work your fabric in so that it's completely straight. So many times we start pinning from one corner, move it along, and we have extra fabric sitting at the end. Well, that's just because it's been cut on a bias most of the time. And pin each edge and then work your inner back in and everything fits perfectly. So just be careful with the biases on this garment, because there are a lot. Even the bias edge of your cuff, it's cut at a bias. It's a curve and a curve and a bias. So those you just have to be very careful with, that you're not moving them too much. Yes, and then start your gathers where you're supposed to start your gathers, which is, there are snips and notches for the front and the back of your garment, as there are in most patterns, most garment patterns. Then there are dots on each piece here, and that is where you start and stop your gathers for this view. On the other view for the short sleeve top, you start them at the notches. And so really pay attention, because it really would have been better, I think, for this linen version to have all of the gathers way up on top instead of down below. So that is the one thing I did not do correctly. But otherwise, that was it. I did add 2 inches to the length, and that didn't impact the yardage that I had and that it recommends. And that's that. Let's see. Yep, those are my notes. So I hope you really enjoy making this top. And if it's your style, if it's your, I don't know, I love the fullness of it. I think for me right now, in the middle of March, the linen version of this is a little too lightweight. So it's got a little too much area for breathing, and it's a little too cool. So I'm going to hang on to this until later on when the sun shines a little bit more. But I enjoy wearing the rayon one. I don't have an issue with the rayon version at all right now. So that is the Cielo top. And so we're adding these to the other 3 garments that we made, and I'll do a quick little review of each one of those here so you can see the differences between each of the 4 garments. So I want to share with you a few new Batik Rayon that we have added to our collection. And this past week, we received a shipment of jersey knit, of rayon, of canvas, and of our 115-inch wide cotton. And so over the next couple of weeks, we'll share with you all the close-ups of all of the new fabrics, and then also take a look at everything that is now back in stock, because we like to replenish the most popular fabrics that you like. And so several things that might have been out of stock will be back in stock for you. So here are, how many do I have here? I have about 7. I think there's one more that I, for some reason, couldn't find. But this is the Valhalla motif. And this is the shade Lavender Lantern. I'm trying to learn all these myself as well. Lavender Lantern, and it is just a delicate, very delicate purple, or it's not on our lilac scale, but it is just gorgeous. Perfect for spring. The next one is our Phoenix motif, and this is soft, what are we calling this? Soft serve. And so this has shades of pink and yellow and kind of a limey green, little bit of that periwinkle blue. Love this. Again, very spring, very summer. This is Valhalla Spring Green. Really, really pretty. A pretty green. And I need to do more with green, I think. We'll see. What do you think? And we have several bolds. We don't only go lighter when it comes to summer and spring, but here is, this is the Medora Flora motif, and this is Pinot Noir. So it's a very, very bold wine shade, and it's really beautiful. It has hints of, I don't know if you can see in here, but it's a little bit of, it's almost like a little turquoise and a soft coral and pink inside that motif. And a good old favorite is our Twilight Blue. So where we may have eliminated a different motif, we try and make sure that we're bringing in a new motif in a similar color. So this is Twilight Blue, our beautiful blue, which has the bold blue background, and the motif itself has the hints of that dusty blue. Okay, so that's a new motif in an existing shade. And then this is Purple Magic. Again, we have Purple Magic in a few other motifs, but this is Purple Magic in the Valhalla motif. It might be reading a little too purple because it's more like a grape. Okay. So those are a few of the latest Batik Rayon fabrics that we've added to our collection. And again, definitely look at some of the items that are restocked, like our Gardenese Divine Ocean Teal. That was a favorite that has been out of stock for a little bit. And many others. So I'm so glad I was able to share the new rayons with you, as well as the Cielo top. And let me know what you think. What do you like to sew with? How did you think that the rayon looked different from the linen, and which top was your favorite? I'd love to hear comments below and let us know what you think. So until later, keep sewing, smiling, and sharing.